Harry looks over at him and is like...
I didn't know if they would ever get along.
I feel like I'm able to thrive.
Yeah.
Whereas before trikafta, I was just trying to survive. Good morning, you guys.
Good morning.
Small caveat, I am still trying to recover from a low blood sugar, already treated. It's been long enough that I should be feeling better. So you might see me like a little like this in the beginning, and probably by the end I'll be feeling better. That's my hope. So I'm hoping that by starting, it'll like jumpstart my body to be recovering.
I went downstairs and she was like sitting at the table like eating apple chips and just like...
I don't know why I do this when I'm low.
Because you're like spaced out.
Yeah, I guess it's me trying to tell you like, hey, I'm not here at the moment. Anyway, I am fine. Blood sugar's coming up. It's just the symptoms the symptoms that are still trying to go away.
We are here to do a Q&A. Mary posted on Instagram a couple of weeks ago. Send me some questions, and her Instagram got bombarded by questions from you guys. If you don't follow Mary on Instagram, you should. I call it her mini blog because she pretty much posts every day, and she shares little windows into our little life that I feel like are kind of like behind the scenes of the Frey Life. So
Yeah. Okay, first question. Has your lung function improved a lot since you've been on trikafta? Yes. I remember hearing about the clinical trials of these CFTR modulator drugs and hearing like, on average, patients see an 11% increase. And I was just like mind blown. Like, if that happened, I literally don't even know.
yeah.
And I have had about 15%, give or take a few percent. Obviously, lung function varies. It goes up a little and down a little, but around 15% improvement. And
that is like improvement that we saw in the first 6 to 9 months and has remained stable. Like Mary said, up and down, but pretty much a new baseline of up 15%.
And I have been on trikafta for 18 months, and we are just like still in awe that my lung function volume has remained stable. And that's through, now there were probably times during the last 18 months where I was more sick, where maybe we didn't have my lung function tested, and it probably did drop during different times, but the fact that it could come back up to my baseline is astonishing, astounding, miraculous, and we're just really, really thankful. So,
yeah,
yes.
And that comes in the context of the reason that stability is so, like, astonishing is it comes in the context of every time we would go to the hospital for Mary's lung function tests, PFTs, pulmonary function tests, they would give us a printout.
Before trikafta.
Yeah, before trikafta and post trikafta as well. But before trikafta, in kind of the last 8 years, I'd say, of leading up to trikafta, she'd do her PFTs. They'd give us a printout. Mary and I would always take a picture. We had a album on our phone where we would save the results from the PFTs, and on the results sheet was a chart that showed all the dates that she had PFTs, and those were a dot on the chart. And the chart over the last 8 years was just this decline. And there were times where it was pretty stark drop and then more gradual. But if you, as time went on, the chart just looked like a downward slope.
Which is a picture of the reality of progressive, what's it called? Progressive illness? Or...
Yeah. Yeah, a progressive disease. And so the chart has changed since trikafta, which is just, it's like this visual representation of what we know so much better in real life, but to look at this chart and just see stability.
The interesting thing that I noticed like a few weeks ago, probably about a month ago now, symptomatically, my body was showing all the signs of infection starting to flare, and turns out on my sputum culture, infection was flaring, and yet my lung function remained stable. It was like both confusing and mind-blowing. I was like, how can all my symptoms be worsening and yet my lung function and ability is staying stable? I don't know the answer, but I am thankful for that. And fast forward, I did 2 weeks of 2 oral antibiotics, and it helped. And so that's another thing that's just like mind-blowing since trikafta, because before trikafta, oral antibiotics did nothing. So it's interesting to watch, and it's going to be, I think, years to come as we observe how my body utilizes trikafta and responds to the variables that are coming in, like either environmental stuff, like, oh, it's super pollen time, how's my body going to respond to that? Probably I'll stay stable, but maybe I'll have some symptoms or something, and it'll just be a matter of taking it one flare at a time. I haven't used the word flare historically, but sometimes I find that that's the only word that kind of describes it to the outside world. To those who aren't walking through it, like, we wouldn't say, like, babe, I feel like I'm in a flare today. Like, I wouldn't use that wording.
Yeah.
But that is really the descriptor that works.
Well, it's a good representation because the bacteria are always there, and at times, due to whether it's environmental or virus-induced, or just those bacteria are only held at bay for so long and they kind of flare up. And so I think that is a probably good description.
Yeah.
So that was a long answer to has lung function come up, but I think anytime that question is asked, it demands a kind of glorious long answer.
Yeah. And it's been so like amazing. I don't know what word to use, as I've seen so many of my friends with cystic fibrosis start trikafta, and many of them have had an even bigger increase in their pulmonary function test than even I have. Because I feel like, whoa, this is like crazy, 15%. And then I hear friends who have had more and more than that. So I'm just really thankful that it's not just me. Like, everybody most people, I'll say most, have had both numerical improvement, but more importantly, symptomatic improvement. And I will continually say trikafta does not work for everyone, and it doesn't work on everybody's mutations. And for that reason, research continues to try to figure out an effective treatment for the patients who cannot be on trikafta or it doesn't work for. So research continues. And if you are in that last 10%, just know that we have not forgotten about you, and we are fighting with you and for you. Got it?
Got it. Next question. Does Ollie use all of his beds?
So you might know that we really enjoy buying dog beds for Ollie.
We're kind of tempted to buy another one every time we see a good one at the store, but we don't buy it every time.
No.
But
so Ollie's really large. I mean, not really. He's around 60 pounds. But he's like a tall, lanky guy.
And he's got, poodles have this, like, long-barreled chest. So when he doesn't, like, curl up in a ball, per se. Although he does, but it's more of an elongated ball.
Yeah, and, like, he sprawls out. Yeah. Okay, the answer to does he use all his dog beds? 1, 2, 3. Yes! He loves them. And he loves...
and pretty much any comfy spot to lay, so his dog beds are always used.
Yes. One question is, am I going to do another 30-day yoga challenge again? Yoga comes and goes for me, and right now I'm not in a yoga phase, but I'm sure I will get back into that. Lately, I've been doing more on the exercise bike, and I can only kind of focus on one of those outlets at a time. So, yes, I still super love yoga, love doing handstands, and I will get back into it at some point, but right now is not that time.
Oh, gotta put the code in the phone.
I noticed Peter is always driving. Are you able to drive too? Do I have my driver's license? Yes.
Actually, recently, Mary's been driving more.
Now, was it one time or more than once?
Maybe it was just once.
I drove.
No, it was a couple times. You drove somewhere and you drove home.
Yeah.
And I think now that, Mary's been kind of like, when she was super sick, she never felt like driving. And like we said, there's this new stability, and Mary's been kind of like, I'll drive today.
Yeah.
And so she's been driving a few times recently.
Yeah, I mean, I've been driving since I was like 16, but I never became like a confident driver. I don't like it when we're in the city and people are driving all crazy. I am not that kind of person. I just have never gotten super confident. And I remember being in high school or college and having my babysitting kids in the car with me. And that gave me like, I've got to get these kids to their home. I felt this like ambition. But then like Peter said, I got more sick and I don't know. I did drive for 5 hours. Or what, did I just drive there? I probably just drove there. 2.5 hours.
Yeah, but that was like a year ago.
Yeah, but like I enjoyed that when we went to pick up our cactuses. And so I think I'm going to keep practicing, but the confidence piece, I don't know if it'll ever come. Who knows? How are Ollie and Harry's like interactions progressing? So when we first brought Harry home, which we think about that, we were just recently thinking about that, yeah. Cracks us up. When we first brought Harry home, we worked really slowly and intentionally with the two of them because they're both, Harry had never lived with a dog and Ollie has never lived with a cat. So we wanted to work really, really slowly on their interactions. So what was the first month like?
I didn't know if they would ever get along. So we kept Harry in his room, which is my office. And we kept him in there, door closed, and we would let him out at certain times of the day and like supervise and kind of keep them separate, let them get used to each other. And I literally, like, Ollie just wanted to lick him and like mother him.
Yeah.
And Harry was very intimidated.
Yeah, he was like, he didn't know.
He had never been around a dog.
Yeah.
So
he didn't know what to do.
I was like, I don't know if this is going to work out.
And here's why we say that. So Peter and Harry were sitting on the couch. And Ollie comes around the couch and just walks into the room and lays down on the floor. Harry looks over at him and is like, hisses at him.
He would just hiss, like, anytime he saw Ollie.
If Ollie walked by, he hissed. And it was all new to us. And so we were like, is this okay? And I said to Peter, let's give it a month. Let's keep working. And Peter's like, a month? This is crazy. But they just figured it out.
Yeah, I'd say like 2 months in, they learned to coexist, and they, Harry would be walking underneath of Ollie's legs, and they were just doing their thing. And I'd say, like 14 months later, it's pretty much the same coexisting, although I think they're much more, like, sometimes Harry, this cracks me up. They don't snuggle or anything like that, but sometimes Harry will go over to Ollie when he's sleeping and sniff his fur.
He's like...
For his hair.
Yeah.
And he'll just be like... and then walk away.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, they will lay on the same bed because it's in the sunshine, and they both want to lay in the sunshine.
Yeah.
And that's super cute to us, but...
So no more hissing. Unless Ollie steps on his tail.
Which has happened like once in the last year.
Yeah.
But
so no more hissing, and so it cracks us up to hear at the vet. He hisses at the vet when they try to like take him out of his crate or whatever. And that like cracks us up because we haven't heard him hiss in so long.
Yeah.
So anyway,
funny.
They're progressing well.
Yeah.
And how are Oliver and Harry doing health-wise? They're both 8 years old. Ollie is happy as a clam. He does have arthritis, and so we see evidence of that every once in a while, but he is on CBD oil, Cosequin, salmon oil. Like, he's on the supplements that really do help him.
Yeah, we notice a big difference since we started those, and, like, if we run out of one of those, we start to notice, he's a little more crickety.
We call it crickety, where he'll like get up from sleeping and just kind of be like, like that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But he's happy, hilarious.
We walk like 2 miles a day, and so he loves that.
They do.
Yeah.
I rarely take part in that experience, but yeah, he's great old Ollie. And then Harry is doing great. He had stomatitis really bad. It's a cat thing. It's a gum disease where your gums are like allergic to your teeth, basically. That's like the normal person understanding. So
we had to get all his teeth taken out. That was a little over 3 weeks ago, and he's healing up great. Yeah. And just, we can tell he's more comfortable. He's happy. He's eating like he loves to eat. Yeah. And he's doing good. Yeah, so they're both doing great. And there was a question, how am I doing, like, health-wise overall? And I would say, like, what's it called? Like, overall, great. We would say, yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. And then if you were like, how are your days? And I would say it varies. It comes and goes. I deal with like some weird complicating factors between the migraines, which have gotten way worse on trikafta, but my neurologist and my CF team have worked to try to figure out how to make that livable, workable, because obviously the benefits from being on trikafta are far exceed the... Wait. Exceed. Hey, maybe... Outweigh, exceed. Yeah, you can make a new word. It's X-way. Or, what did you say? I don't even know. Outseed. X-way and outseed. It far outweighs... The benefits outweigh the side effects or the consequences. Yeah. So we're dealing with that, and stuff comes and goes, Like I said a few weeks ago, my lungs were coughing up all the stuff. So I went on the antibiotics, and then I'm dealing with the antibiotics. So it's kind of like a day-to-day thing, but it's so... I feel like I'm able to thrive. Yeah. Whereas before trikafta, I was just trying to survive. Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes down to where we started with the new baseline. there's still like fluctuation there, but it's not like this downward slope.
Yep.
And so that makes kind of the overall how's your health doing a whole different question than how we would answer that 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. So thank you for asking, you guys. Thanks for being on this journey with us. And
as always,
we'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Good night.